So Shams says the U.S. Attorney's Office is investigating Malik Beasley on allegations of gambling related to NBA games and prop bets. Damn. Pistons fans are like, no, you were amazing for us last year. Why would you do this? It's like a player choosing to go to a different team, except that different team is jail. But is this even legit? I mean, how sketchy is this Malik Beasley game film? You better believe that we know at least one game Bees is being investigated for, and we have some spicy clips. But to be fair, Malik's lawyer says an investigation is not a charge. Malik is afforded the same right of the presumption of innocence as anyone else under the U.S. Constitution, and he's right. We don't know if Beasley did this, but people jumped on him quick. Why? Well, let's just say old Malik ain't exactly a Boy Scout. In 2020, for example, on the T-Wolves, he pled guilty to something called threats of violence and was sentenced to 4 months in jail. So what is threats of violence? Well, he pointed a gun at a car outside his house. Then when cops came, they found narcotics in his home with guns, including stolen guns. Sounds like a solid dude. So of course he did this, but hold up. Let's actually check the tape. Now, Malik has been on 5 teams in 4 years, which maybe speaks to his locker room presence, but in Minnesota, he signed a 4-year, $60 million contract. Why would a guy with that kind of money need to gamble? Well, the gravy train ran out in LA in 2023. After a terrible season, the Lakers did not pick up his team option for $16.5 million. Then he went out to get a similar number, but he couldn't find one. So he ended up signing 1 year, $2 million on the Bucks. And I am sorry, a 90% pay cut hurts anybody, okay? We know the stats about NBA players going broke after their career. Why? Because they start spending like it'll never run out, and then millionaires start living paycheck to paycheck. Now, I am not saying that Beasley lived like this, but it would establish a motive. Now, before we get to this game tape, good news! Beasley set up for a 3-year, $42 million deal with Detroit, because dude was so good for them last year. As a solid vet, he hit 319 triples, the 8th best season in NBA history. Easily set the Detroit franchise record, but guess what? Those talks are on pause. He may have just fumbled a $42 million bag for maybe a couple of thousand, or did he? Now, there is one clip going around the internet where Beasley comically lets Tyrese Halliburton blow by him. And that seriously does look suspicious. Like, it looks like he's trying to let Hallie go by him on purpose. But that wouldn't affect his own props. That's just terrible defense. Then there's this play to end the Pistons season where dude straight fumbles a potential game-tying bucket. But the most suspicious to me by far is this. 5 seconds left in a near blowout. Beasley goes coast to coast like it's a game 7, and that bucket made the Wolves cover the spread. That is insane. However, the investigation isn't from any of those games. It's from the 2024 season only, and specifically January 31st, 2024 with the Bucks. The team was in Portland, and it was the Damian Lillard return game to the Blazers. Do you know what kind of guts you'd have to try to fix your own props on a national TV ESPN game? That is insane. So odds for Malik Beasley rebounds under 2.5 cratered from plus 120 to minus 250 before the game. That's like going from, he probably won't hit the under, to he is definitely hitting the under. Somebody knew something. One sportsbook was forced to move those odds because such big bets came in on Malik Beasley unders. Weird, but here's the thing. Those bets lost. Beasley ended up with 6 rebounds. It wasn't even close, and look at these rebounds. The man is fighting hard to grab them. I mean, I could see maybe if 6 rebounds just fell into his lap, but that is effort. So you look through all of his box scores that year, and he didn't have any mysterious early exit games like Jonte Porter did to cash his props. So what is going on? Honestly, unless authorities can give us more to go on, I just don't see a reason that this dude is guilty. And I'm not saying he's like a great dude. I mean, I don't even know him. But this is a huge allegation, one that gets you kicked out of the NBA for life. They need to give us something. I mean, the Jonte Porter games were obvious. And remember what Shams announced was a sports book said things look shady, So they told the FBI, and the FBI is investigating. That's it. But just because things look shady doesn't mean they are. For example, remember how Terry Rozier was being investigated? Remember that? Notice how we haven't heard anything about that? Yeah, because he was never charged, still to this day. And the NBA investigated Terry and cleared him of any wrongdoing. So technically, we have still only had one NBA gambling scandal. That was Jonte Porter. And how did they actually bust Jonte? Well, it started the same, right? A sportsbook noticed weird betting patterns, and in this case, it was DraftKings. A guy placed a Jonte Porter prop parlay to win big. See, that's the thing with props, right? They have such small limits that the most you can bet on is like $2,000, which wouldn't make sense for an NBA player to risk. But these same game parlays let one guy take Jonte points, rebounds, assists, and threes, and he made $85,000 on a single win. And they might have gotten away with it too. Instead, a few months later, the same two men walked into a DraftKings again and got real greedy. They heavily bet on Jonte Porter, and the slip they put in would have netted over $1 million. What were they thinking? First of all, you already got away stealing $85,000 from these people. Jonte Porter props is suspicious enough, but then you go and do it again? So DraftKings did not pay them out, reported to the FBI, who investigated. They got the men's cell phones, and in a Telegram chat, they found Jonte Porter. Hit unders for the big numbers. I told co-conspirator 2, no blocks, no steals. I'm gonna play the first 2 to 3 minute stint off the bench. When I get subbed out, I'll tell my eye's killing me again. They caught Jonte red-handed. And sure enough, he told the Raptors his eye was hurting and he subbed out, props cashed. So not only did the sportsbook notice weird betting activity, sent it to the FBI, but the FBI caught the bettors and then had electronic evidence that the NBA player was in on it. And it turns out Jonte was in deep debt to these shady bookies and he was trying to pay them back with these tips. Now you would think if that was the case for Terry Rozier or Malik Beasley, we would find out, but so far, nothing. I will say that Wolves clip where he's hustling to cover the spread is really weird, but that happened when he was making more money than ever in the NBA. So it's not clear. All we know is just because Beasley is not the most upstanding citizen in his personal life does not mean he's guilty, because so far, this case looks pretty weak. Just Sportsbook notices something weird and reports it. That's it. But if you do want a deep dive on the official NBA betting scandal that we actually did have, the Jonte Porter case, check it out. The Beasley game film, not that bad. Porter's game film, a smoking gun that he was fixing NBA games and that was banned from the game for life.